Welcome to the Minimalist Podcast Studio, where Josh and I discuss what it means to live a meaningful life with less.
Is that scripted?
Yes, it's written down in the script. What's going on, people?
Hey, YouTube. I tell you what, Jordan, if there's a question or two today, we're going to be talking about curation versus collecting versus hoarding. And I'd love to know if our YouTube audience has any type of questions for us to answer.
Or if you got any advice. I'm looking for some good advice for this podcast that I could impart onto our listeners.
Yeah,
I believe it's Sasha says hey, so
Oh.
hi guys.
Hey, Sasha.
maybe Jordan could do a better job curating the comments.
Hey,
Sorry,
man,
guys.
you can't be a filmmaker and a curator.
Wait a minute. Isn't that what a good filmmaker is?
Oh.
A good filmmaker is a curator. So I was thinking about this. I've been actually airplane mode on everyone's phones except for Jordan. Don't put your phone on airplane mode, Jordan. That
Cat
would be a
says
disaster.
Meow.
Hello from Melbourne.
First off, you just lost every Australian fan of ours for saying their city wrong.
It's Melbourne.
Melbourne?
Melbourne.
Sorry, I'm
No, dude.
That's all right.
I'm American.
I'm kidding. You know what, dude? What I've learned is that so Americans,
Look at you.
They-
You got the Dayton Dragons thing.
I know,
still.
dude. They
That's
pronounce a hard R. Like we would say dark chocolate bar, where other English-speaking countries it would be dark chocolate bar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Change it.
Change it.
You know what's nice about American English is we perfected it.
We took out superfluous letters.
Yeah.
We just lost the rest of our European audience.
Whoa. No.
Now people often think I'm from the South. I've got like a bit of a rural accent, and so I don't know why. Like Ryan and I grew
I got a
up.
pretty neutral accent, I feel like.
Yeah, Ryan has. So we grew up just north of Cincinnati, Ohio, which is on the Ohio River, which is just north of Kentucky. And I've got relatives in Kentucky. That could be the difference, but I have like the
I
slight.
think your accent's genetic.
No, but like.
You're like hanging out with them.
My grandpa, growing up, he had like a thick Kentucky accent. Even my step grandpa, he had a thick Kentucky accent. So I spent a lot of time in his house over in Middletown, Ohio. And but Ryan, like Cincinnati has the most neutral accent
In
the
the
entire,
world.
Yeah, in the world. Most neutral American English accent in the world.
Yeah. Well, that
And
the most neutral American accent in the world.
well, it's true. I mean,
I know.
There are plenty of Americans throughout the rest of the world. We're an empire, so we have military bases in 151 countries.
It's unbelievable when you think about it. Anyway. Peace.
We will force this peace upon you. Whether you like it or not, you will be peaceful, or I'll kick your ass.
So to better guide, what are we talking? What's this episode about, and what kind of questions are we looking for?
So this week we're recording an episode about curation. We're going to talk about curating versus collecting. We're going to talk about negative space. We're going to answer a bunch of questions about curation, and it's sort of on this continuum, this continuum of consumption. Well planned, intentional consumption is often because we get good at curating. We have a well curated life is another way to describe minimalism. So if anyone on YouTube has a question for us about curation or collecting, we'd be happy to answer one question before we dive into this episode. It'll be out next week, so you're kind of getting the sneak peek. We wanted to bring this to our YouTube audience first. You're getting a sneak peek of the show prep. We're calling these episodes every Tuesday pre-roll because we go through our notes here about a week in advance. So later today, after we're done with this episode, I'll start putting together the notes for next week's podcast episode. That'll be episode 146. And then Ryan and I will spend the next week sort of going through the questions. We'll curate the questions, right? Because we have a whole grab bag full of voicemails, and we find voicemails that are appropriate for a particular topic. Podcast Sean helps us out with that. He's over there hiding in the corner. He never shows his face. He's like the non-violent Antifa of the podcast. But and so we'll get the questions down. We'll get the lightning round questions together, and then we'll spend the next week sort of ruminating, sort of putting dots out there, and then slowly connecting the dots. I probably spend, I don't know, maybe 6 hours a week preparing for the podcast. Jordan, I sent you a video last night of my Monday evening ritual. So Monday afternoon or Monday evening, I will just walk around the neighborhood for an hour, sometimes 2 hours, but usually about an hour or so, and try to connect the dots that I've been thinking about for the last week. So with the curation thing, just thinking about, like, what is curation? How does that compare to collecting? Can you be a collector and a curator? Can you be a collector but also do it in a way that is not well curated? What's the difference between collecting and hoarding? And trying to connect the answers in my head, and also the research we've done over the last week. So pulling up different articles or stats, demographics, just doing the research over the course of the week and thinking about that, figuring out what's going to be relevant for this episode. Because Ryan and I don't just come in here on a Tuesday morning and sort of willy-nilly, well, let's pick a random topic out of the air and now we're going to talk about it. I wish we were that talented. There are a lot of podcasts I listen to who can just do that. I mean, Joe Rogan, he'll sit down and have a 3-hour conversation with someone with
hardly any prep.
Yeah, with no prep work, basically.
Well, I love how on his show, like, he's got Jamie there to, like, do the on-the-spot looking up stuff.
Yeah, if only we could get podcast Sean.
So it's like he'll have a question, be like, "Hey Jamie, look that up. I'm going to continue this conversation. Let's go back to this point that you're going to do some research on right now."
And by the way, at the same time, Jamie is also doing the video and the audio.
Mm-hmm.
He's a bit of a savant, I think, because and they'll often do it high the entire podcast too. So like they're working at a specific disadvantage.
It's funny.
Any comments about curation there, Jordan? Or we can go ahead and dive into this episode.
There are a couple, but I think the best method is just to wait until the episode to translate them into the episode. So
maybe. Give us one of the questions.
Well, here we go. Veronica asks, my question is, how do you avoid the collecting trap of trying to get everything rather than just curating a few of your favorites? For me, the most addictive part is trying to complete the collection.
See, that's why I think collections are dangerous.
Yeah.
It's because it forces you to bring things into your life that don't necessarily add value. Mm-hmm. The only thing they add value to is that specific collection. I think about, my favorite authors, or I'll think about, like, what the hell? Dude, sports equipment. I'm very good about not collecting a ton of sports equipment. However, when it comes to sports specifically, like fly fishing, even snowboarding, I struggle with a little bit, where like I feel like I have to have every little thing that's made to like aid that sport.
Yeah. In fact, I wouldn't even call that. I agree with you. The collection is dangerous. So imagine if you collected the little flies for the fly fishing, but you didn't fly fish.
Right.
You're not getting the same value you would because they're not useful for you. Now, maybe you could collect them as some sort of art project and display them in a way that's beautiful, or use them. The correct word would be utilize them in a way that is not what they were intended for. You know, you can create some collage or something with it. Yeah. So yeah, let's dive into that during this episode today. Jordan, how are we feeling? Did we get the hoods?
We did not get the hoods. I don't think the lens hoods are in.
No, so they were supposed to be in. Yeah. How many packages did we have down there, Sean?
There's audio. You can speak.
No, he can't. If he talks, he's gonna outshine us, and we told him to never outshine us.
That's right. He has such a deep, booming voice. He's like the white James Earl Jones.
That's what his nickname was in high school.
That's his Twitter bio. All right. I think that's it for the pre-roll today, y'all. We'll see you next week, or we'll see you tomorrow. We're posting Living Room Conversations tomorrow on YouTube, so you can check that out. In fact, we're going to be getting to a point where we're posting a video every day on YouTube really soon, so stay tuned to that. Subscribe if you like. If you don't want to, then please don't. And if you have a comment for us, just leave it below. It's the best place to leave a comment for us is on YouTube. You can leave it below.
Y'all, thank you so much for your support. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.